Shalom and welcome to the rolling hills of Judea, just east of the famous East Jerusalem, in what some like to call the West Bank. I have settled here, so I am literally a West Bank settler, and I'm very proud of that title. I welcome you also to what I hope to be a new podcast. The idea of this podcast would be to spread some background and context about the stories coming out of Israel, because when you read or see the news from Israel, a lot of times you go, this doesn't make any sense. This is crazy. People couldn't possibly be doing what they're doing. And there's a certain self-destructive um, aspect to the rulership that we have had in this country, really since its founding, that I hope will be able to be controlled to some extent. We can go from self-destruct to build in the places where we're lacking, that with people understand more of what is going on when they see a news item. The impetus for this podcast is the death of Eli Kay, Hashem Yikom Damo, which means may Hashem avenge his blood. Eli was murdered by a terrorist on November 21st, 2021, in the old city of Jerusalem, very near the Kotel, which he was on his way to, um, closer to the Arab Shuk area, as it's called. And Eli was the brother of my son-in-law. In fact, my daughter and he got married just a few weeks before Eli's death, and Eli had been the MC at the wedding. It was a very big blow for the family, and one of the first things I want to give some background on is the projects going on for Eli's memory. The concept in Judaism is that we believe in reward and punishment, which means if you do something good or you do something bad, then you deserve and you get a reward or a punishment. And if you do something good or bad because someone else steered you that way, that person deserves some of the credit or blame, depending on which way you were going and also to what extent they influenced you. So the projects that go on behind somebody's, in memory of someone in the Jewish world, are to do something that has that is some sort of mitzvah, which literally means commandment, meaning God either told us to do this or wants us to do this. Two of the projects are to put on tefillin. Tefillin are little black boxes that Jewish men put on every day, one on their arm and one on their forehead, at least for a little while. And that is a biblical commandment. In fact, we have found ancient pairs of tefillin amongst the Dead Sea Scrolls going back over 2,000 years. And we've been wearing them continuously since the time of Moses. When you put on the tefillin, for one thing, as long as you do it once in your life, you've made a statement that you have a connection to the Jewish people, to the God of Israel, and therefore you get at least an entrance into the next world. Not to say that I know for sure you're not getting it without that. I'm just saying that's what some of the rabbis have talked about throughout our history. And if you're doing it because of Eli, either because you're starting it because of Eli, or at least you have in mind that you want to connect your performance of the mitzvah, or you want to do it better, perhaps have more concentration when you're doing it, then that gives a credit to Eli because he deserves it. Because without him, you wouldn't be doing it, or you wouldn't be doing it the way you're doing it. And therefore, his credit, which accrues to his soul, his neshama, as we say in Hebrew, um, raises his soul, his place in the afterworld. Whatever that means, it's a spiritual reward, but it's a tangible spiritual reward, and therefore I urge anybody who anybody who puts on tefillin or doesn't put on tefillin, any Jew who does or doesn't to do that, or to pick some other mitzvah, some other thing that they can do to make the world a different place, so that our martyrs, Hashem Yikum Domo, may Hashem avenge them, not have died in vain. I hope that this podcast will act also as a Lui Nishama, a raising of the soul for Eli. If I can provide background that helps make Israel a better place, to build God's country, to appreciate and perform the mitzvah, the commandment of conquering the land, of settling it and making it a Jewish place, then this will also be an Elui Nishama for Eli.